Before I start the video, I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreons who have been supporting my channel. If you would like to check out my Patreon and receive early access to some very exciting videos coming soon, then please click the link in the description below. Hello there, and welcome back to a new episode of the Just a Nerd podcast. And today I am joined by a very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Pup. I haven't even thought about how I want to introduce myself yet. Let's see. I make videos on superheroes and comics and games, and by games I really just mean Sonic for the most part. I just do all that kind of stuff.
Oh, well, thank you for the introduction. And we're just going to dive straight in and talk about something which I feel like is, it's going to be the main topic of the podcast. Because obviously,
I think I can guess what it is.
We mainly focus on Doctor Who. But first, let's talk about, when did you first become a fan of the show?
That would have been actually 2005 when it came back with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. It was one of those things where I knew of Doctor Who. I know that my parents were quite into it at the time, grew up with the stuff. And there are always like Daleks around the house, like little ornament Daleks. It kind of meant nothing to me until, I was hearing about it at school. And it's one of those things where when you're like 8 and stuff, watching something from the 1970s or 80s or whatever, I know that there's some people that have been able to grow up with classic Who that are kind of in my generation, and honest to God, huge respect there. But yeah, myself, it was something I kind of struggled with, was either the black and white or just. It's one of those things where it's okay to admit Doctor Who didn't have the best special effects when it was in its color era. Like, surprisingly cutting edge in the black and white era, but like the color era, they kind of pooped the bed, if you like. So yeah, it wasn't until it came back and it looked like a normal TV show that I started watching. When I saw the first episode, Rose, I thought it was really exciting. And going from there to the end of the world, it's like, whoa, it's like a little sci-fi movie that's on your TV every week, and you don't have to pay for it. You have to go to cinema. I mean, not that I'd be worried about paying for movies at that age, but still, you know how it is.
Yeah, of course. And it is really interesting as well hearing about, when you got into the show, especially from when it first came back. Now, obviously, you mentioned you watched the End of the World After. Did you continue to watch them weekly, or did you miss a few episodes?
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
watch them weekly.
So I basically watched the show religiously up until, I think, season 9, which, while that is kind of a sense of a drop-off point, you gotta admit, like, 9 seasons consecutive religious viewing ain't bad, right? Like, that's commitment right there. I would, it would be the highlight of my Saturday. That would be the thing I'd be looking forward to all week, would be the new Doctor Who. Honestly, I would love to go back to that, all things considered. Maybe. Fingers crossed. Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? But obviously, you've said that, you used to watch it pretty much religiously. Was there like a golden era for you where you felt like the show was at its peak, where you felt, I'm really proud to be a Doctor Who fan and I really love this show?
Oh, you bet. Like, I think every Doctor Who fan has one. There's people that say, "Oh, I love every era equally." It's like, no, you don't. You're lying, man, because they contradict each other, don't they? Like, Doctor Who has such a contradictory history. But I mean, to be fair, if you do love them all equally, like, respect, because you must have an incredible threshold for like appreciating entertainment and different signatures and stuff like that. For me, though, when I think Golden Age Doctor Who, I think from season 1 to 4. That's right. Yeah, I'm a RTD cultist. I mean, I guess I would include season 5 in on that as well, to be fair, because Matt Smith's first season was very strong. And even then, like, even if I did feel like, the consistency was kind of lost in the Moffat era a little bit, we still had some great seasons. I thought season 10 was a really great season. Loved that one. And if it was all like that, then like hell yeah, I'd call that a golden age too.
Yeah, well, that's really cool to hear, and I do kind of share that with you as well, especially with including season 5 because you know there were some really cool stories throughout that golden era. Like we had Blink, we had Midnight, we had Weeping Angel stories as well, which were pretty cool.
Definitely, yeah. And oh, what's one that I really like, but I haven't seen about Amy's Choice, Vincent and the Doctor.
Oh
Season
yes,
5 has some like the 11th hour. The 11th hour is like that. That's a Kino episode.
it
Like,
really is. Yeah.
I wish we'd seen some of the characters in 11th hour become recurring characters, though. You know?
Yeah, I feel like there was like I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I feel like there might have been plans to have them reoccurring, but maybe I don't know, Moffat might
The
have changed
potential was
things
definitely
around.
there, but I am thinking also since it was quite a star-studded cast, maybe they just couldn't get them back. Maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. But we've mentioned about the golden era and how you view your golden era of the show.
Mhm.
What's your favorite episode of Doctor Who and why?
Favorite episode would have to be probably. I mean, just for the sheer drama of it, it's got to be Parting of the Ways, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's like it's got everything for me. Not only is it like a super compelling watch, it's brilliantly character driven and stuff like that. It's got the Daleks in it, you know. Like, you put a Dalek in it, I'm probably gonna have a good time, you know. Like, unless you're like Asylum of the Daleks or something, in which case I didn't like that very much at all.
yeah. I completely agree with you there. Um, it's funny how you brought up that later story. Do you feel like in the RTD era, that's your golden era? Do you feel like the Daleks were written more strongly, or how do
Oh,
you feel about the
definitely.
Daleks? Yeah,
Yeah, I certainly think so. Like, I mean, maybe it comes from a bit of a place of bias, and I'm willing to admit that to a certain extent. But something like I think we have some amazing Dalek stories in the classic series as well. But there's something about the way Russell T Davies writes the Daleks. They're extra catty, you know, like they
yeah,
got an attitude about them, which I really like. And like a great example of this as well is also like it's just the little fight between the Daleks and the Cybermen in Doomsday,
yeah.
where they're just sass talking each other, and then like just moments like when we first see the Dalek fly in Dalek. Obviously, not the first time we saw a Dalek fly, but like the first time we saw that one do it. It gives Adam the chance to be like, yeah, defeated by a flight of stairs. You know, it lets him finish. And it pauses for a little bit, looks him straight in the eye, and just goes for it. And I feel like we don't have that kind of level of, just sheer just being a jerk,
Yeah.
in even the classic era. And like, I mean, if you ask me, like, who's the worst person to write the Daleks? Like, I mean, you probably guess. Um, I definitely didn't like the way the Daleks were handled in the Moffat era, put it
Yeah.
that way. And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, was it that Russell T Davies was something special with the Daleks, or was it that? I mean, obviously Rob Shearman as well. Sorry,
Yeah.
because he wrote the scene with Dalek, but it was one of those things where was that era genuinely like the best one, or is it just that I don't like how Moffat writes the Daleks? And no, they're just extra sassy. Yeah, and I like them that way. It's campier, and it fits with the more campy tone of the RTD era.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I am curious to hear how you felt about the Daleks written during the Chibnall era, because yeah, the Daleks I felt in the Moffat era, I feel like they started to become overused. They were used in like ensemble stories, like Series 5 finale and Time of the Doctor. So how did you feel about the different approach that Chris Chibnall took with the Daleks?
Um, okay, so I'm fine with like Daleks being in like I guess ensemble stories and kind of I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Not being the main event of like an episode, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things where, as well as that, like if you want to give me more Dalek stories, by all means. But the other thing is, I need them to be written well, and I need their place to be justified in there. Like I'm fine with them being a smaller part of the bigger story, but it's just
yeah,
kind of too often they just kind of ended up benched, or they just weren't very good in the Moffat era.
yeah,
So it's one of those things where I do not mind frequency so long as it's done well.
of course.
But I do agree with you about kind of just if you're gonna write them so badly, don't overuse them as well.
Of course, yeah, yeah. So, just before we move on to the next section, with Chris Chibnall, with his Dalek episodes, he tries to do new things which we hadn't seen before. Like with the first episode they appeared in, Resolution, we
Yes.
got a redesign of the Dalek mutant where it hijacked someone quite
Yep.
physically and took control of them.
Little body snatches thing going on there.
How did you feel about the new ideas that Chibnall brought to the Daleks with those sort of innovative ideas? Did you feel like they were good, or do you feel like they took away from the Dalek personality a little bit?
It's one of those things where my opinion of like Chibnall Dalek stories is really weird and all over the place. Like initially, the first time I saw Resolution, that's the one. I was a little disappointed because like, they didn't show the Dalek very much. Like that's kind of my threshold for things sometimes. I like to see the monster in the monster movie, but looking back, it is a perfectly fine story. I think like. It's probably like the most aggressive and mean a Dalek had felt in quite a bit, and how determined it was, which I appreciated. It does still have the hallmarks of like a Chibnall episode, though, where like the character writing is very iffy and like there's just some oversights in there, you know. But I thought the Dalek itself was well written. I honestly can get past it laughing and stuff because it's like. I mean, from what we understand, it's like, well, they lost every emotion but hate, right?
Yeah.
Hate still enables like you to take a little pleasure in things, you know? Like hate doesn't mean you can't have a bit of a sense of humor, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they clearly did have a bit of a sense of humor with that, you know, whole this is not war, this is pest control stuff from season 2. So yeah, I didn't mind that too much. I didn't quite like just how overly kind of cartoony and meta they were in what's the one I'm thinking of, the storage unit one.
Eve of the Daleks.
Yeah, I felt they were written more like a parody of the Daleks than the actual Daleks. And it's one of those things where in the second half, I think they kind of start to feel a little bit like a threat, but like I thought on a whole, I don't know how I feel about them being in comedic centered stories. I know some people are cool with it, but I don't know. It wasn't really for me, that one.
Yeah, so you feel like that takes away from like the whole shock factor of the Daleks having an appearance in an episode.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I feel like I've kind of got a bit of a philosophy around the character writing in Doctor Who, in that I want these characters to be written as though they are real people, so they are very consistent. And the thing I think with a lot of Doctor Who is I think there is a certain acceptance that these episodes are often genre pieces, and they are often handed off to different writers of different kind of sensibilities and stuff like that. And it's why, you could have an episode in the Capaldi era, like Deep Breath, where he's all brooding, and then you could have Robot of Sherwood, where he's a joke. And that's how you kind of get that. And I think, a lot of Doctor Who fans are perfectly happy with that. And I think, that does say quite a bit about, a willingness to approach art as the product of the artist, which is, quite a nice, empowering thing that allows a great deal of creative freedom. I personally would like to see Doctor Who kind of step it up with the consistency and just try and I don't know, go a little further. In making these things consistent. So we can still have kind of genre episodes where there's a more comedic tone, but the characters are still played straight. They're still consistent with who they are. And it can be done. But I think it's also one of those things where maybe you need more of a writer's room kind of environment to make that happen. I'm not entirely sure myself. But I'd like to see them kind of... If you're going to do a genre-specific episode, or you're going to do like a non-archetypal episode, it would be cool if we could completely do it as a non-canon, out-of-style thing. Maybe have someone else play the Doctor and companion and stuff like that. Just have a completely self-contained thing for that,
Yeah, we did have something similar to that. And I always forget the name of it. It's where the Doctor was played by Ronan Atkinson. It was The Curse of Fatal Death. Yeah.
That's the one.
That was a good. Really good one.
It's one of those things where were it an actual episode of the show, though, it would work.
Yeah.
Probably didn't even need to say that, but like,
Yeah, of course. Well, it's better to get the point across.
yeah, I certainly suppose so. Yeah, but it is a great parody. It's a fantastic parody. It is kind of funny though when you do see Moffatisms sort of that bled their way into the real show. The whole I'll
Yes.
explain later thing very much became integrated into the show, and he did a good job at almost did a good job at hiding it. I probably sound really anti-Moffat, and I'm not. I actually really love the best of Steve Moffat stories. There's some fantastic stuff in there. The dude knows how to get a feeling out of you, you know? Like, he's excellent with kind of toying with the audience's emotions, and he's certainly ambitious. Plus, he seems like an awesome dude when I see him in interviews and stuff.
Yeah, certainly.
But there's certainly things that I'm very critical about, and the whole I'll explain later thing becoming not parody in the main show, it did irk me. I don't mind a mystery, but you gotta have it tailor-made to be a mystery, you know? It can't just be, hey, I inserted the thing here, you can ask a question now, but we're not gonna answer until later on.
Yeah, because there's only so many mysteries you can have at once before those mysteries literally turn into plot holes.
Yeah, season 6, for example, is just mystery box after mystery box after mystery box. And I applaud it for its ambition. Like, I know some people think season 6 is worse than 7. And I used to think that when I was younger, but looking back, it's like I appreciate what Stephen Moffat wanted to do with this. He was trying to make this sort of premium sort of standard television on a budget of like £4 in a packet of crisps. Like, and you can tell with the lighting in that season what the hell happened there.
Oh yeah.
But it's I can certainly appreciate the ambition. It particularly shines through with episodes like, say, A Good Man Goes to War. Like, I think, you know, the episode is quite flowery and a lot of build up, but it's a vibe, you know. It's a vibe.
Yeah, it certainly is. But it is time to move on to the section which I feel like a lot of people have tuned in for. And there's 2 words to start this.
Mm-hmm.
The Abzorbaloff.
What's that?
Some very iconic Doctor Who monster, I believe.
What, like Skongo?
Yes, like Skongo.
Everybody Google that.
So,
ask your nerd friends.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you got the wrong guy. I don't know anything about no Abzorbaloff. What's a Doctor Who? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Doctor what? What?
Right, there you go. You got it.
So, how did the initial idea come about designing that monster when entering the competition, if you wouldn't mind going through?
Well, there was quite a process to it. My initial idea was like a giant robotic augmented jellyfish that like shoots people, and I thought that'd be awesome. Another idea was like a guy with a Dalek squid man on his head, which kind of actually came real in season 3.
Yeah.
But like I eventually kind of landed on Abzorbaloff when I was watching like a Simpsons episode, and it was a Treehouse of Horror, and there's this moment I think it's Mr. Burns or something is like, oh, you have to join them in that thing, and it's like this big wall with faces in it, and they're all like screaming out like help me and stuff like that. And I was like, imagine if that were a person, that'd be kind of creepy, right? Like, there's this big evil version of it. It's sentient, it's got fears and stuff. I'm picking it up, but as an 8-year-old, I was like, yeah, let's do that. But I mean, it worked, right? Plagiarism. No, it was an inspiration, you know. And yeah, like that kind of became the concept, was the idea of getting absorbed into this creature, and you know, you could poke your head or your hand out. You could in the drawing there's like whole human bodies in there, because the idea was originally that he was meant to be this kaiju Godzilla thing, which obviously is outside of Doctor Who's budget. Like that was never going to happen. But like I wasn't mad. Like I'm fine with it, you know.
Yeah, oh, no, that's really cool to know the initial concepts that you had for entering the competition and stuff. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
What was it like once you found out that you'd won the competition, and like what happened from there?
There was quite a build up to that, actually, because we got phone calls to say, "Oh, you've made the shortlist," and that was quite something. And they were like, "Okay, so we're going to have you on the phone line during the episode, and we're going to have all the other winners on the phone line during the episode, or any other potential winners are going to be on the phone line, And the idea is that if they call out your name, you go, well, yeah, I didn't do that. Like I didn't do that. I wasn't worried about it. I was shy. I was a kid. Um,
Of
but
course.
I did wait for them to kind of ask if I was there and stuff. I mean, I was like, to tell you the truth, I don't think I really deserved to win that competition because I was in it for the wrong reasons. Like, I wanted the remote control Dalek. I didn't even know about the grand prize. Like, a guy at my school comes in and he's like, "Oh, they got to design a monster competition." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. What do you get?" He's like, "Oh, you win a TV, yep, DVDs, yep, remote control Dalek." I was like, "Remote control, okay, say no more,
Sold.
mate. I'm on it, on it." And so yeah, that as soon as I saw that my name was on the first board, I was like, I turned to my dad and whispered, "Oh hell yeah, I got a Dalek," basically. Um, and yeah, I didn't quite comprehend what was coming after that. And I think this is the thing: is while I really feel like I owe everybody that actually tried to win the main prize an apology, at the same time, like you have no idea what kind of shock that was. Like,
Yeah, I can imagine. And not only, did you win the competition, get to design a monster, but it's a monster which is, to be honest, it's well known, in the Doctor Who
oh yeah,
circles.
people haven't forgotten about Ozorby.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, that's the thing. Like, yeah, okay, the episode people have got very like diverse of opinions about it and stuff, but
Oh, they hate it. That's
I
yeah,
mean,
they hate it.
I'll be honest. I think I kind of have like a very guilty pleasure about it.
Sure.
It's like just I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the inclusion of ELO. Like I'm just immediately sold by the inclusion of their music or something like that. But it's just it's a different vibe to what you got during that series where it was
It's a
just
bit of a slice of life tale about the sort of ground level side of the Doctor Who universe. Um, and I think it is quite an accurate representation of like friendship in the Doctor Who community.
yeah
Like, it's a show that does bring people together. Like, I have made a lot of friends through Doctor Who,
yeah
you included. Um, hell yeah.
hell yeah
Like yeah, Doctor Who does bring people together, and the show translates that to like the notion of the Doctor, theorizing, speculating. But I think every Doctor Who fan knows that there's always some dickhead who's coming in to ruin it
yeah
because he is terminally tuned in to his television watching Doctor Who, and he don't even know if he likes it anymore. That's what Victor Kennedy is
yeah.
like, and I think I enjoy it from the perspective that I can really relate to that. Um, I also just like how unashamedly goofy and campy it is in its direction. Like, even for like Russell T Davies era Doctor Who, like Dan Zeff, the way he's directed this one, it's so very out there, and it's one of those things where I understand that that's not for everyone. I enjoy the things that are very out there. Like, you
Yeah.
could probably see it in my film tastes. Like I can be quite a rule of cool kind of guy. Like I don't really need too much logic in my movies and stuff like that, as long as we're having a good time. And I think Love and Monsters absolutely does that. Whether or not I would have that opinion if I didn't make the monster in it, I can't really know that. That's like alternate dimension stuff right there. Like I'd have to
Well and
ask.
truly a what if.
Yeah, I really I cannot tell you. Like I can find merit in it, but it's like, am I willing to? Is somewhere I'd be willing to like, actually even dignify any of that if I didn't make the monster? I can't tell. I think it's a great piece of TV.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, but like it's fun. So yeah, I've always held a positive opinion of Love and Monsters. Back then, I think, as a kid, I really just enjoyed it because, hey, there's Abzorbaloff. As an adult, I'm like, man, this connects, And also
Yeah.
the Jackie Tyler stuff is just done really well.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like that's one aspect as well that I enjoyed about the episode is that we don't really get to see the aftermath of the Doctor's adventures. And we get little snippets of from Aliens in London, and the Christmas invasion and getting to see like different perspectives and stuff. And it
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of shows.
it's quintessentially like Russell T Davies era Doctor Who. Like, I think he was the first person to really explore the companions' families and the impact being the Doctor has. He was the first writer to do basic world building. No, like,
Yeah, I
it's a
mean,
different focus. It's a different focus. But like, I love that aspect, and I think Love and Monsters it typifies that particular aspect. And again, obviously, that's not going to please everyone, you know.
yeah,
And I fully get that, and I also understand that there's a lot of people that are going to be alienated by the monster itself as well. Like,
yeah.
there's going to be people that enjoy the character drama, and then when this big jolly green elf in a latex suit rocks up, and he's telling people to get in his belly and stuff like that, like, it's going to kill it, you know. So I get it. I fully get like the criticism towards it. At the same time, worst episode in the show's history. I don't think it was even that at the time it came out.
Yeah, I was about to say there's plenty of other episodes I could think of before that tick that box. But before we move on to the next segment, how did you feel about Peter Kay's performance as the monster that you created? Were you pleased or?
Yeah. I mean, like, the main thing was like when I was younger. Again, my parents were Peter Kay fans,
Yeah,
so I think at the time it probably meant more to them than it did to me. But it was one of those things where after doing the set visit, my parents showed me some of those Peter Kay DVDs, and I kind of wish I'd seen them before that because, like, I definitely would have. I was pretty starstruck as it was. I was, having a great old time there. That was, I'd say it's a dream come true, but like, how many people are lucky enough to even kind of get to have that dream? Like, so I don't take anything for granted there. Like, I wouldn't really change a thing about it, but like, I do. I did grow up to kind of become a fan of Peter Kay, and I think he's done some fantastic stuff like Car Share and stuff like that. It's kind of quintessentially British comedy, like it's one of the things that we kind of he's our own, that's
yeah,
Peter Kay. And he had it's one of those things where the performance is one thing. The episode Love and Monsters and watching it is really a footnote in the overall experience because
yeah,
getting to go on set was the big part of that for me. And it's one of those things where Peter Kay could have turned in an awful performance. It kind of wouldn't matter to me though, because he was so charismatic on the set and he was just such a fun guy to be around. He was constantly entertaining the cast and crew. The man is genuinely every bit as funny when he's just working as he is when he's, out doing the comedy stand-up and stuff. And, it was just cool to see that as a kid, As it is, his performance itself, I thought was great. He does the whole sort of mustache twirling villain thing, and I can really appreciate that.
yeah. Certainly. And it's funny that you mentioned about the set visit. Do you have like any memories of that? I know you were young back then, but do you have like any fond memories of visiting the set
Oh,
apart from what you
definitely.
mentioned?
Yes. So it was chucking it down with rain. Like,
Oh,
I don't know if they maybe just reshot that stuff or maybe like it's one of those things where as a kid, I've kind of I always kind of told myself, or like my parents and I, when we talked about it, we said, oh, it must be that maybe the cameras did pick up the rain. And it's like one of those things where it's like, what I'm only now questioning why I believe that because I literally have cameras and stuff now.
yeah,
It's one of my things. And you still see rain on the camera.
yeah.
And I don't think we were at a point where we could just easily paint out rain back then. So I'm going to have to be honest. I think they might have reshot that. I don't think I was there for the day that was actually the actual scene was filmed. But I mean, it was the paving slab scene basically when Abzorbaloff has chased Elton down and
Yeah.
the Doctor appears and stuff like that. So I got to be on set for a day when we had David Tennant, Billy Piper, and yeah, just the whole shebang there. So obviously I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to see anything that was going on because I was a little kid, and there's just a great deal of people work on these things. Like
Yeah,
I
of
had no
course.
idea just how many people worked on it. Like back then as a kid, I thought, oh yeah, you got like a cameraman and the actors, and there you go, you got it. No, it's a huge thing. I was like, this is a big old economy. This. And yeah, my meeting with David Tennant and Billy Piper was very brief, but
Oh, was it?
well, I say very brief. It's like still, I got to spend some time. It was, more time than you would get for like I don't know, like a Comic-Con meet and greet or something like that. So
Yeah,
I should really call it brief. But like it's one of those things where it was like, between a take, they came over for a little meet and greet and we chatted for a little bit. They were asking me, what did I think of the Christmas Invasion and stuff like that. How do I feel about seeing everything? It was really that they were asking me the questions and stuff like that, and it was really nice. Like they didn't talk down to me or anything. It felt genuinely like they were interested in kind of getting my perspective on things, I guess, which was really nice. And yeah, both David Tennant and Billy Piper are just like such wonderfully warm people to be around. And yeah, like again, I didn't feel like I was being talked down to or anything like that, which was really nice. Peter Kay, again, the man is just always switched on. Like it's fantastic, frankly. At any time a camera operator would want to get a look in the TARDIS or something, he'd be there to throw in a joke about, no, you can't see in there. There's a jacuzzi, there's a discotheque, and there's some cows in there. Like he would, yeah, he would just. He did the Peter Kay thing, like that's what you kind of expect from him. And I know that David Tennant actually tried to organize it so that we'd get to have a little lunch with the cast and crew, but due to, I don't know, some kind of safety precaution thing, they couldn't go forward just because, like, I guess it's like, maybe it's because I was a kid or something, I don't know. But yeah, it was one of those things where he did try to pull that through for me. So I'm very grateful for the fact that he even thought of that. That was very kind of him.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing to do.
I did have a few little bits to get signed, but they never did get signed because it was just raining, and it's just like it's just not going to happen. But like that doesn't matter, Like at the end of the day, I've got this footage of getting the opportunity to meet them and stuff like that. Maybe when I've got that, maybe I just don't need their handwriting, Like I can live without.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I really don't want to undercut also just the efforts of the Blue Peter team as well.
Yeah.
Particularly Connie Huck, who was a tremendously hard worker, was fantastic with us. She doesn't just present, she really, walks you through everything, she looks after you. And the director of Blue Peter, or that episode anyway, Ed Wilson, was also great. He, drove us around and stuff. He made sure to have chocolate digestives in the car. I got to take the front seat and we just chatted the whole way there. So yeah, I gotta make sure people know that those Blue Peter folks were fantastic people.
No, like to quote Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, that really does sound like a trip of a lifetime. The fact that you were on set, you got to meet the cast and the crew, and to see your creation in person must have been like, just like wow. Because like you said,
it was dazzling. It was absolutely dazzling.
Because like you said yourself, like you didn't really like comprehend, like, okay, I just want the Dalek. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I made that. And
it was just this kind of could have happened to anyone kind of stumbling into accidental destiny kind of deal. And yeah, that was fun. I'm glad that I got to have that experience. Like, yeah, as a kid, like that's a defining childhood memory, like. But that wasn't the end of it, because there were lots of great things that kind of came from there. I think it was in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, they were doing a documentary called Who Peter, which was kind of about the partnership between Blue Peter and Doctor Who, the relationship between these two shows.
Okay.
And it was a DVD extra on, I think, the Regenerations box set, which came with Doctor Who the movie, Talons of Wen Chiang, and Caves of Androzani. And yeah, on that little documentary, I got to meet both Gethin Jones, again, brilliantly hardworking man, wonderfully charismatic, and Russell T Davies.
Oh wow,
the man himself, the big cheese. And the man is like Santa Claus, like when you were younger and stuff, like because he's got this bluster about him, he's very. He speaks with such conviction, like there's a loud sort of confidence to him. But also he's got this thunderous laughter as well. If he finds something funny, like he finds it funny. Yeah. But there was a point where I said to him, There's one thing I think you got a little wrong, Russell, on the Doctor Who Confidential, was the part where you said that I was a little disappointed by the Abzorbaloff not being the size of a double-decker bus. I was like, I think you got it all wrong. Like, I wasn't disappointed. I just said that the original design. And he found this hilarious. He found this absolutely hilarious. But I think the man's a bit of a gossip, frankly. Like, I kind of believe Christopher Eccleston when he says that that man is not careful with his mouth sometimes.
Yeah, certainly, certainly.
But no, he's absolutely terrific. Like, obviously, that didn't have any kind of negative consequence for me, but I can understand why Christopher Eccleston didn't feel the way that he does as well. So, like, I think it's respectable people across the board. Just really unfortunate that things couldn't work out in the end.
Yeah, exactly, and especially with the pressure that was on for filming series one, which
Oh, dude, yeah, like it very nearly didn't even happen.
yeah, it's make or break. And even before that, the BBC had tried to, bring the show back in different ways. Obviously, the TV
Yep,
movie was meant to be a pilot for an American series as well.
yep.
And it's just, yeah, it's one of them. Obviously, it's no excuse for, certain tensions and stuff like that. But obviously, when things get that tight, it's kind of inevitable. And it's just unfortunate that things did end the way they did, unfortunately.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, I completely like that. That's the thing. I don't think there's any real bad guys in this situation. I mean, as it is, it's not on me to judge who's good and who's bad in this case, anyways, because
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I don't know. All I can
Course.
say is, I've had nothing but good experiences with, Russell T Davis, David Tennant, and it's one of those things where I would love to meet Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to chat with him and just kind of pick his brain about these things and stuff. Because what I really like about Christopher Eccleston is how real he is.
Yes.
Like he is very unflinchingly kind of everyman with what he says. He doesn't mince words. He will tell you the experience. He'll tell you why you're in it. Like that point where he kind of, someone was asking why he came back to Big Finish, and he kind of said, "Look, I wish I had a nice answer in that I'm doing this for the fans and stuff. The truth is, I'm doing it for the money."
Yeah.
Respect, like that's thank you for your honesty, man. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like with how Chris is in real life, especially watching various interviews with him and then I feel like this also goes into his portrayal of the Doctor as well. He's very grounded. He's very realistic.
Oh,
and
100%, yes.
and that's something it's especially in this day and age. It's very hard to come across, and it is nice to get a bit of honesty and yeah, just a little bit of realism in.
Well, I think
in
that's
someone's
also really good
personality.
because I think we need that,
Yeah,
like because there is this sort of illusion that like celebrities are these mystical beings and they see the world through this very idealistic lens and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I feel like when people are just real, like Christopher Eccleston is, it takes away from that precedent.
yeah.
He's someone that clearly is out to avoid parasocial relationships. He's out to avoid unhealthy celebrity worship and stuff like that. And I absolutely respect that.
Yeah, well and truly, I've got to agree with you there. But let's move on to the next segment of the podcast, and I'm a little
Sure.
bit curious about this. So I've been watching your content for a while, and I remember you used to do not a lot, but a fair bit of Doctor Who content.
This is true.
You used to do like bit of reviews, discussions, and well theories and stuff. Um, and I have noticed, especially recently, you've produced less Doctor Who content, and you mentioned that earlier that you stopped watching religiously at season 9 thereabouts.
Yeah.
Has this been because you've been enjoying the show less, or is there another reason?
Um, I suppose there's the factor of kind of keeping up with it.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: is like throughout, like say Doctor Who Flux, for example, I did actually end up watching that one religiously simply because of the promise of it kind of going in a very unique direction, and every episode ends on its own little cliffhanger kind of thing. It was good TV in so much as it got me hooked, but terrible TV in so much as it didn't give me anything in the end. But I kind of didn't end up making much videos for that either because I'd love to tell you it's because creative stuff or anything like that. The reality is it just didn't get the views in. And I am aware that with YouTube, sometimes there is a matter of like one thing I can safely say I have learned is when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, you got to beat it into submission sometimes. It
Yeah.
happened with the Spider-Man retrospective, like the most recent one. When I started that out, they were getting pittance views and stuff. They were making peanuts, but now like
Yeah.
it's kind of a tentpole thing on my channel, I guess. And I mean, maybe that's also partly my own perception because I am just pretty proud of that. But like, um, it's one of those things where it's like I could beat the Doctor Who algorithm into submission if I wanted to. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But it's also like I kind of have to decide what things I want to kind of really do. Because if it's
Yeah.
this much of an uphill battle for one thing, and it can sometimes be a topic that you've already covered and already had success with,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I kind of got to pick things that are constantly giving me an output of content and things that I'm going to want to really continually engage with. And it's one of those things where, for a lot of Doctor Who, I would have to kind of rewatch a lot of bits, and um, it's one of those things where I would love to do like a retrospective of like the RTD era and stuff like that. But I think when it comes to Doctor Who, people want the new stuff now. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think there's much space for someone to come out of the gate and be like, "Here's my retrospective on the RTD era. Here's my retrospective on Moffat." Maybe it's something worth doing. I don't know, but like, um, I intend on, I guess, reviewing the specials as they come. I did it with Power of the Doctor,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where I'm not necessarily willing to spend video after video trying to push my channel into the Doctor Who camp.
Yeah.
When I also know that even if I get the Doctor Who camp in there, I can get more out of things like Spider-Man and comic books and stuff like that, because it's just a bigger well to dig in, you know. Like, so it's a long life. Maybe I'll do more. I'd like to do some more, but it's got to be under the right circumstances, I guess.
Well, that's a completely fair enough, explanation to all of, why you moved away from doing Doctor Who. Because as well, up until recently, Doctor Who's had a fair few gap years as well, which probably...
like, dude, imagine being a YouTuber, strictly YouTuber, during the Chibnall era. Yeah. I feel you. I'm here. Yeah. Well, you got a little Star Wars going on there. You know, you got some stuff to. But
yeah, I mean,
no, I honestly, that would frustrate the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I think with Russell T Davies, already just the marketing alone is giving people stuff to talk about. So like, fingers crossed, you know.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because one thing I remember with, the most recent gap year was that, okay, that was also down to the pandemic as well. But even stuff, we could have, had some casting announcements and stuff, and I feel like there was just too much secrecy, where it got to the point where, Reddit leaks.
Yeah, it's like, do you want people to watch it or not? You know,
yeah.
I mean, I suppose I would. I don't know if I would take that over though, like the late Moffat era approach of John Sims back, by the way, at the end of episode 1.
Yeah, I know. You've got to kind of find a medium, I guess, like similar to, I guess, what Russell's doing now, where, you're getting casting announcements because they're going to be filming in public. So it's not going to get leaked by the press. So you're going to get official, casting announcement. And yeah, you're going to get a little bit of a trailer as well. But as long as the plot's not getting spoiled, so like as you said with John Sim, that's not going to get spoiled. Like big reveals like that, and like I'd love it as well if the Daleks return. They probably are going to return. But imagine Series 14, the Daleks show up at the end and we have no idea. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it was one of those things that Doomsday kind of got spoiled because of like the Dalek sec prop was rolled out at one of the award shows and stuff, but I didn't even know about that. So I was quite surprised when they rocked up at the end of Army of Ghosts, which is funny because they literally told me on set that the Daleks would be in season 2.
Oh, really?
It was like my one question. Yeah, they're like, you can ask a question, just one little question, but you got to keep it quiet whatever we tell you. I was like, all right, are the Daleks in season 2? It's like, yes, the Daleks are in season 2. I think halfway into season 2, I guess I've just kind of given up on it. You know, I was like, maybe they're not. Maybe they were kidding. I don't know. And then, they pop out of the sphere. I was like, oh, what? And it is funny because there is even more evidence of that. Because I believe at the end of like the Christmas Invasion trailer or something, like they show like a Dalek blast or something, and it's like unmistakably a Dalek beam, with the
Yeah.
skeleton in there and stuff like that. Uh, yeah. I think I've I think I've brought us off track because we were talking about marketing, weren't we?
Yeah. No, it's
I was going to
fine.
say, I think a great example of kind of secrecy in the right places, I guess, was Fugitive of the Judoon,
Yeah.
where there's an episode coming and it's going to have the Judoon in it, and that's a returning baddie, and that's really cool. But the amount of extra baggage that episode carried from creepy Jack coming back, but also the whole Joe Martin Doctor reveal, like I kind of love that kind of thing where you just enter like a mid-season episode and it's just this unsuspecting little thing
Yeah.
that just explodes into something else entirely in the second half. I was like, yeah, that's really awesome. I'm game for more like that. I don't like where they ended up going with it in the end, but like Fugitive of the Judoon is still a solid episode.
Yeah, it certainly is. And obviously, yeah, you mentioned, there's obviously Creepy Jack. And then, we had the reveal of a new doctor or new old doctor with however that ended up. I can't even remember, to be honest.
She was a pretty Hartnell thing.
Pretty Hartnell. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was confirmed in a comic that, which, yeah, again, missed potential there. But
I know there's also like Big Finish stuff going on with her, which may give us some more answers. I can't really afford Big Finish, but I know that my buddy Dom, who I know you've met, he's worked with Joe Martin before on it, so he's probably got more answers than any of us have. But he's obviously got to keep tight-lipped, so he's not a true friend. But like, I respect it.
No, it is, and it is amazing. Like that Dom's executive producer on that series as well. I am looking forward to learning more about that incarnation because, as we were just talking about with Future of the Judoon, we were, expecting a standalone episode, like you said, just for the Judoon, and then in the second half, it just suddenly became a multi-Doctor adventure, which is
and it's a brand new Doctor as well to discover. I really wish though that she'd been a future Doctor and that we could have actually had a season worth of Joe Martin because I thought she was fantastic in the role.
Yeah, I do as well, and that's why I'm looking forward to hearing the Big Finish stuff because I feel like there's a lot of potential to explore with that incarnation. But then again, we've just seen with David Tennant, older faces can come back, so I'm going to start campaigning.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Yeah.
I'm going to start campaigning for the 16th Doctor. Honestly, I would love to see her have at least a couple of seasons well and truly. I feel like that would be amazing.
I'm really looking forward to Ncuti Gatwa. I think, he's an excellent choice. But it is one of those like justice for Joe Martin. Let's see it. Let's see it. Give her a series, at least a special, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny that you just mentioned about Ncuti because the next question I'm going to ask you is with the 60th anniversary specials coming along very soon, and there's a new series on the horizon. Do you have any hopes for the new era of Doctor Who?
No, that's a question. That's a big question. Sheesh. I hope it's really good. I hope it's really good and that everyone has a good time.
I mean, that's completely fair. That's what I hope.
I hope I can, I don't know, work on it at some point. That's my hope. Maybe get me to do an episode. I'll do an episode. If Russell T Davies wants me to write an episode, I'll write an episode. If he wants me to. If you want me to sweep the floor, I'll sweep the floor, let's do this. Hopes, though. Well, I hope we'll see a bit more of the family aspect with, Millie Gibson's character, Ruby, that, we'll see her family and stuff like that. I'm kind of hoping that it won't be overly formulaic, that it will still do new things, because that is one thing I can at least give Chibnall is he did some new ambitious stuff. I didn't like Doctor Who Flux because it didn't have an ending. But up until that point, it was really cool. So if we could get one of those but with an ending, I'll be really happy.
Yeah, I to be honest, that's what I want to see. And someone pointed out to me a couple of weeks ago that from the end of Series 12, including Flux, up until the Power of the Doctor, every episode has had a returning villain. which I don't know if that's something that you've
I've just,
realized as
yeah, I
well.
am noticing that myself.
And obviously, the 6th anniversary is going to, well, I'll say obviously, it's heavily hinted that Neil Patrick Harris is going to be playing the Celestial Toymaker.
Yep, and we've also got those other guys, like Beat the Meep and
Yeah,
the fellas with the big red eyes, who are technically returning villains just from the comics. Which I
exactly.
also, let me just say, that's an awesome approach to take for like an anniversary special. It's like, okay, we're going to pull from Doctor Who history, but we're going to pull from like comic books. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, great, good, that's awesome. Now give me my big round Emperor Dalek, the big ball shaped one. I want to
Yeah.
see that. Um,
That'll be cool.
they're definitely teasing me with it and that whole Time Lord Victorious scam thing, but like,
Yeah, that definitely was a scam.
it was a pyramid scheme kind of thing. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
mean, I tried to invest in it, and I felt like the more I invested in, the more disappointed I was. I
It was
don't
a
know.
vacuum for money, like,
Yeah.
and everything was expensive.
Well and truly. And then obviously, I think the last bit of content for it was within Time Fracture, that immersive show. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
like how
ever.
can you expect someone to follow it when they have to literally go to a live event that costs like what, 50 quid?
Yeah, I
You
know.
know what
And
I tell you was like one of the coolest times to be like a Doctor Who fan when we did have loads of multimedia stuff going around. The Doctor Who lockdown events.
yes,
Those were great because we'd get so much behind the scenes stuff. We'd get new little things from like, Russell T Davies, Stephen Moffat, Chris Chibnall. Just that everybody was contributing there. I also contributed my little thing to it.
a little plug-in.
A little plug in there. Dog 2 Lockdown, genuine article. It's a funsy. It's a fun little short that me and my roommates now actually made together in the space of 48 hours.
Blimey, crunch time.
Yeah, well, we crunched on it, but like we pulled it together. This was like the three of us. Like, there's Dom was the writer. There's me, animator, director, and producer, and Sam is the composer for it. All three of us live in the same place now, which is funny. But it's like, yeah, now we can make some stuff. But yeah, I thought that was an awesome multimedia event, and it was all just stuff coming from the hearts of like people involved in the show, fans of the show that just wanted to give people something to be happy about during a time where it just kind of felt like the world was ending a little bit, Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And especially as well, there were restrictions in place, so you couldn't just you and your friends could just go out and film something in public. You were all
exactly.
working remotely, and that is more, I guess, yeah, it's more cool at the end of the day. Like, you were restricted in some capacity, but it didn't stop the creativity, which is what I loved about Doctor Who Lockdown as well.
I mean, that's proper Doctor Who, right? Working within restrictions.
Exactly. Instead of filming in the same quarry, you were using the same
I
program
mean,
software
it
and stuff.
it was always going to be animated anyway. I
Yeah.
can't make an Abzorbaloff, but like, I mean, I own a piece of his skin now. They were selling.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this company called the Movie Reliquary. This sounds like a plug, but honestly, it's really expensive what you get. But I feel bad because I kind of know the guy that owns it. He's a nice dude. But like, it was 40 quid for like an inch of Abzorbaloff skin.
40 quid. Oh, okay.
You can
Okay.
also spend about 15. If you want to go the budget option, you can spend 50 and get a lock of his hair. I mean,
Oh, okay. I mean, I'd
they
rather
come
have
in
the
this
skin.
really nice little display piece. I won't lie, the hair thing's a little fetishy. I didn't buy any hair. I did buy a bit of the skin. What this tells me is that Abzorbaloff prop that was at all the Doctor Who exhibitions and the experience, and it was at one point just a decorative item in a Cardiff cafe. It tells me he's finally been cut up, and so I'm
Oh,
like, you know what? A piece of him is home with his dad. I bought
exactly.
back my son's foreskin, effectively.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
It looks like a guacamole Dorito.
Guacamole Dorito.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an image I certainly can't get out of my head.
Oh, you never seen the guacamole? That is a thing, right? Guacamole, it's the green one.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me look it up. I gotta find out. Yeah, it's a thing, right? No, I mean, it's not quite as the American one is the one that looks like that. It's greener.
Oh well, there you
The
go.
Doritos
That's
are always greener somewhere else. That's a lesson to learn.
Yeah, well, there you go. You got a little comparison there to, well, yeah, some skin. Yeah.
Doubt it tastes good. Give me £1,000 on Patreon and we'll find out though, right?
Yeah, there's a little challenge video going there for anyone that's want to donate that money. So, let's move on to the next part of the podcast, and I want to know, with the type of content that you produce, you know, you do a lot of retrospective, you do a lot of analysis and very formative reviews. Has this changed the way that you watch film and television shows from when you initially set out to create the Channel Pup YouTube channel?
Kind of yes, kind of no. In that, like, the way it started was, I mean, I just like talking about stuff.
Yeah,
Like, it was one of those things where I would put up these like multi-paragraph little things on Facebook, basically, just talking about whatever TV I just watched.
yeah,
And on one hand, there'd be like one or two people that like it, but most people are like, my God, why are you posting all this on Facebook? And so eventually, like, you know, I tried to start a YouTube channel because I had a lot of job dissatisfaction and I wanted to make it big. And I guess it kind of half worked out. But like, I mean, like one day I just decided to kind of, rather than, you know, do like a Reddit video, which was what I was kind of doing at the time, I'd talk about the characterization of the Joker in the Gotham TV series. And
brilliant
it
show.
did really well. Like, especially for like the first time I'd done that kind of thing. Like in the space of a couple of, did you hear that?
I think I did, but I'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah, we get it, buddy. You got a motorcycle. What was I saying? Yeah, for the first kind of video of its type on my channel, like it got like 400K views in like a week or so, and I was like, whoa,
Wow.
okay, I'd be dumb not to kind of shift focus now, I guess. And so it kind of goes from there. But to be honest, um, the way I kind of analyze and review things changed quite a bit when I went to university.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, like I studied film, but I also realized it was before I even did the film course, I was put on a foundation year.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated because I wanted to make a film. So I figured, you know, I got a bit of a Spider-Man audience on my channel. Let's make a Spider-Man fan film. So I made one. And the film is dookie. And what I learned from that is that making films is hard. You know, you can have all the right intentions and it comes out trash. That is just how it goes.
Yeah.
And from there, I think I became a bit less inflammatory with how I reviewed things. You know, I tried to kind of go at it from like a trying my best to do things in good faith kind of perspective. And it's one of those things where nowadays, today, I'll often ask myself, is this in good faith? Are you being fair? Are you kind of understanding what director's intent is, or not even just director? It can be writer, it can be producers and stuff like that. And it's very rare you'll really find me saying, oh, that film's a pile of garbage, which is kind of funny because today I called The Flash a piece of shit in my Blue Beetle review. But I mean, that film is everything that's wrong with modern Hollywood, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well and truly. I
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
But Blue Beetle was great. I love that.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm
Oh,
aiming to
dude,
go.
treat yourself. Check it out, man. Like it's really good, and I think the sad thing is it's realistically it's probably gonna flop because A, like not only do people not really know who Blue Beetle is,
Yeah.
B, it's a pre-reboot DCEU film, so like yeah.
See, I've heard conflicting things. Like, apparently, it is part of the new DC cinematic universe, but then apparently it still references stuff that's happened before.
Yeah, it's very, very kind of confusing. Like in the way that James Gunn was like, you know, he's the first character of the DCU. But like, did you? I'm guessing you saw like the stuff of him saying like, oh, it references the Snyder films.
Yeah.
I mean, without spoiling anything, it doesn't on a narrative level. It does on a filmmaking level. So there'll be moments where it's like the shot composition is made to harken back to something in the Snyder films, but they're not like, you know, remember the Black Zero event? Remember when Batman and Superman fought? Remember Doomsday? Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, no, there's none of that. It's more just like, yeah, it's visual nods and stuff, which honestly, in a lot of ways, that's kind of the best kind of reference because it's sincere, you know, like it's come from a place of someone who clearly respects Snyder as a director and is, you know, doing something to kind of honor that, you know.
Yeah.
And if you know me, you know that I'm a big Snyder simp. So, like, it makes me happy to see that level of respect because that man does not get a lot of respect.
No, exactly, and that's why I was really glad when the infamous Snyder Cut was finally announced and released because I was always curious, especially with the story behind the original Justice League, and obviously when Joss Whedon took over and things were changed around. And I remember walking away from the cinema seeing the theatrical release, and I was so disappointed.
I was in denial. I was genuinely in denial about it. Like I would not allow myself to. Yeah, that was that was a bit of a dark period.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where it's like, this is one of the few things keeping me together. I will not let it be bad. But like, then we got the Snyder Cut, and it was like, it's okay to admit the Joss Whedon cut sucks because the Snyder Cut's like the best goddamn movie ever. You know, like I love the Snyder Cut.
Exactly, like 4 hour masterpiece, and that is the only thing that I would. Well, unless I don't know, they announced like a 4 hour Doctor Who movie, but it's the it's the only time I've sat down and watched something for 4 hours without taking a break because I loved it. You know, the amount of depth in the narrative and the amount of time. Well, there's loads of time, but the amount of time that was given to flesh out all the members of the Justice League, it was beautiful. It really was.
No kidding. It's one of those things as well where it's like, it's made me more equipped for more long movies now. Like when I was watching Across the Spider-Verse, I was like, oh, don't say to be continued. I'm totally game for a 6 hour Spider-Verse movie. Let's do this. I'm down. If it's all this good, give me 6 hours of it. I understand. It's the family audience. You gotta, you know what? Maybe what they could do is like, okay, we're gonna release part 1 and 2 separately.
Yeah,
we'll release them. So it's like if you've got little tots, you can take them see part 1. You can take them see part 2 another time. But if you're not a little tot and you want to go the whole, if you want to go hard, you call it the Go Hard edition. They release a full ass 6 hour movie, which is just the Spider-Verse sequel, 6 hours long. It would be amazing. That would be a day well spent. I'd watch the crap out of it. I'd go in for seconds. Let's do 12-hour marathon. Let's do it. And when the Snyder Cut came out, the week the Snyder Cut came out, I watched that movie 8 times.
Wow.
I mean, it was the pandemic period, so I didn't have much else to do. But like, it was like I've got to analyze every detail here. I've got to see the black and white version. I got to show it to my friends, you know. So like, it kind of added up. Eventually, it was like, I'm watching this with different purposes each time, but it was like, I was happy to do it. Any excuse to watch it again, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And like as you said, you know, it was released during like the pandemic period, and for me, when that released, even though I was watching it on. At the time, I had a fairly small monitor. I was watching it on in my uni dorm, but it felt like being at the cinema, even though it was just me there. It was just like I was experiencing something that was new, and it was just beautiful.
I just remember like a couple of months ago, there was me and my roommates Dom and Sam, and we'd done like a DCEU marathon. We haven't resumed it yet, but the last one we did was the Snyder Cut, and we were just watching it. I just remember the amount of times we were just cheering, like. During like the Flash Speed Force scene and stuff like that, I was just going like, yes, it goes so hard, you know, like it was.
Yeah.
And there's just so many times as well, like it could be a shot of someone putting a coffee mug down and it's just framed gorgeously. Like, Zach, calm down, mate. It's a coffee mug. Like, it doesn't have to be so beautifully composed.
Honestly, just talking about it, I just want to watch it again. Seriously,
it's a magnificent piece. Like it's tremendous.
It really is. And there was like one point where we just thought it was never going to see the light of day.
The fact that they tried to bury that is insane to me. It's like, dude, if I were Warner Brothers, if I were all the executives, I'd be like, bro, this is like the best thing ever. We've got to get this everywhere. We gotta play this from the screens at Times Square, you know? We gotta have every venue booked out for this event of a movie.
We have got to have this on blast. That is how I'd say it, because it was truly a treasure. But let's before we move on from talking about your YouTube channel, obviously
Sure.
you've had a lot of success from it. You know, you've grown a fairly sizable audience, and you know, you've done a variety of content: Doctor Who, Sonic, Marvel, mainly Spider-Man. Um, and yeah, many, including myself, have really enjoyed the content that you've been putting out. What
Oh, I'm
advice
glad.
would you what advice would you give to people that want to start out a YouTube channel?
When your mate Nerd Den tells you to give The Amazing Spider-Man a fair crack, take the advice because it is genuinely a really good movie. Um, but also, one piece of advice I often, because I do have friends that are telling me they want to start YouTube channels, and then like a year will pass by and they haven't done it yet because I'm still trying to get that first video right. Your first video is going to suck, and it's okay.
Yeah,
Just get it out there. Unless you're saying something horribly racist, just get it out there. You
yeah,
know, like because your first video is not supposed to be your best. You want to get better. That's the idea. Look at most like TV pilots. It's rarely the best episode of the show. You got to work out the kinks, you know, and I think you just got to give yourself the time to work out the kinks, but also commit to improvement and be receptive as well. But the number one piece of advice I'll give is make friends.
yeah,
Like that's the absolute best part of this job. Is like on one hand, like YouTube is a way for me to get a little extra money in the cookie jar to help make ends meet. That at its core, that is something that it is. But the best parts of this are when I can kind of live a lifestyle of someone a little wealthier than I because of the people that I have made friends with. For example, I've been able to go on multiple trips to America over the past year.
Oh, really?
Yes, and they haven't cost me much at all. They've cost me only like 400 a trip because I haven't been staying at hotels. I've been staying with friends and stuff
Oh,
like
that's
that. I've just
awesome.
been a freeloading asshole. But I mean, in complete fairness, I have been making sure to edit some videos for free for them to kind of pay them back. But
Yeah, of course.
it's enabled me to do that, and like you kind of learn the benefit of just doing little trades as well. Like I'll do you an edit, you help me out with this thing and the other as well, and it can lead to just all kinds of different opportunities. So make friends in other countries and go meet them. Just make sure that they are safe first,
Yeah, of course.
because you got to be responsible.
Yeah.
Just jump in some Discord calls and just make sure that they're not like axe murderers or something, and then you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. You know, strange danger and all that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, err on the side of caution because yeah, sometimes you think you know a guy and it does turn out that they are an axe murderer, but like happens.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's funny that you mentioned about like making friends, and obviously that creates opportunities. Something that I was able to do recently with getting a little bit more involved with the Doctor Who community was doing my first Comic Con panel, which I never thought from like being
Dude,
a kid who couldn't really form a sentence properly, having a stutter problem, uh, to doing like a panel like that. It's just like
how'd it go?
it went well. It went well. It was fun. I won a golden David Tennant and a golden Dwayne the Rock Johnson as well. So something really cool there. But it's stuff like that. How you mentioned when you originally started out, doing YouTube. You obviously don't expect that sort of those sorts of opportunities. But then, like in your case, next minute you're on a plane to America, which is it's crazy.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like after graduation, I had some friends that wanted to go on kind of a road trip and stuff like that. So it was like, you know what? Let's not make this hypothetical anymore. Let's go. Let's do this. And so it goes. I know that like if I kind of wasn't a YouTuber, like £400 is still quite a lot of money. But like for a trip to America and to stay out there for 3 months, that
Yeah,
is not a lot of money. That's
exactly.
um that's an awesome thing, and it's kind of like when you make use of this big, beautiful bridge that we have to other people in this world and make those connections, you can live rich guy life without being rich, effectively.
Exactly. And obviously, like, the main motto is like you only live once, so just try and make the most of it
No
because
kidding.
especially like like those sorts of trips, like over the past year you've been able to do it a few times, whereas like if you weren't so daring and just wanting to get out there and make friendships, you probably wouldn't have been able to do that, which is
Yeah, no, definitely. I think
it,
also like post COVID, you get like a sort of a lust for life, I guess.
yeah, well and truly,
And since I was between homes as well at that point, because I just moved out of my student dorm and everything,
yeah.
like I didn't have any rent to pay, so it was just like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like the best time. You've just graduated, and it's just like you just want to get out there, especially post pandemic as well. It's
You also need it because I think like graduation is a time of uncertainty. You
yeah,
know, you don't have the student finance, paying your bills and stuff like that. You're not going to have access to the dormitory anymore.
yeah.
Like it's a time of uncertainty. Wait, have you graduated yet?
I'm about to graduate next month. However, I'm doing a master's.
Ah, nice, nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was just doing giving you spook, but like, the thing is, like, yeah, as well as that, like, I don't, it moving back in with parents wasn't really an option for me either, so it was kind of like very frightening for me, like the
Yeah,
prospect of graduating. But going on those trips was like, okay, life goes on. This might actually be a little better. Like I was already feeling a little resentful of the fact that so much of my uni stuff was spent in Zoom calls, but like, yeah, it is what it is.
yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And to be honest, if I ever got the opportunity to, do that sort of stuff, I'd jump at it because, you
Dude,
know,
yeah, like it's a big adventure, but like, yeah, just make as many friends as you can in any place. And like, even if you're just, whether you're traveling to San Francisco or traveling to Leicester, like,
yeah.
just go meet people because it is such a good time. Like, one of my friends used to be kind of a YouTube idol of mine. Is a guy by the name of Joey Lever, and he's kind of well known for doing a Spider-Man fan film called Spider-Man Lost Cause.
Okay.
Um, it was a very big deal at the time it came out because it was kind of like the first feature-length Spider-Man fan film, and it was a big deal. But yeah, like I got to know Joey, and he helped me to land my first ever TV industry gig recently.
Oh, that's impressive. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so it's again like it's. I know it's a cliche, but it's all about who you know. So my number one piece of advice for any YouTube person would be just make friends and have a great time, socialize, make time for them, and go out there and see them.
Yeah,
Because you might think, I've got work to do. Making friends can be part of the job. You
yeah,
can make that part of your job, and then you're just going to have a great old time.
exactly. But before we wrap up for
Yeah.
this episode, I've got a little bit of a debate question for you.
Oh boy. Okay.
So just to give context to this, for each person I have on the podcast, I give them a debate question, and at the end of the current season of this podcast, the audience will be essentially marking you out of 10, and the person that gets the most, like the highest score, will be the winner of a £50 Amazon voucher.
Oh hell yeah. Okay.
So, just to make it spicy, the question is, with Doctor Who entering a new era with involvement from Disney, do you think it's wise for Doctor Who to follow suit with the cinematic universe approach that Marvel and Star Wars have done?
Hmm. Now that is intriguing because on one hand, I think there's a lot to explore with Doctor Who and a lot of ground to uncover. The thing is, though, I think the same about Star Wars, and I think the same about Marvel, but I also think there's a hell of an oversaturation with those things as well.
Yeah,
And maybe it's better to let Doctor Who just be Doctor Who effectively.
yeah.
Um, so it's really hard to say. I'm very middle of the roadie on this. Like, so do I have to be like a for or against, or can I give like a bit of a
Well, literally, whatever your argument is. So, yeah, you can say that you're up for Doctor Who, giving more spin offs, but you can say if it's a limited capacity, or basically, how do you want to see Doctor Who grow? Do you want it to be a cinematic universe similar to those shows, or do you want them to do something a little bit different?
Definitely not the way they've done it with Star Wars, because there is such an oversaturation there.
Yeah,
And same goes for Marvel as well.
yeah,
Um, so I guess it's just who has the most base to take, right? Like, oh, I got this then. I got this in the bag. All right.
yeah.
So no. I listen, I think Doctor Who is ripe for spin-off concepts,
Yeah,
like things that take place in the worlds of Doctor Who. You could have like a survival horror taking place on Skaro, and like, the Daleks are just off in the background, just doing their thing, and like, the big finale is the big encounter, but you focus on like some people just trying to survive in this environment and stuff. Like that could be a good show. And you could, you could do stuff kind of about Unit as well. You could
yeah,
do kind of like the next generation of Torchwood minus, Captain Jack and everything like that.
yeah,
Which is a real shame, because I thought Children of Earth was one of the best goddamn things I've ever seen.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah,
that was incredible. But yeah, you can kind of do more like that. I think, yeah, the door should absolutely be open for spin-offs, and cinematic universe. Why not? I think, if there's room for creativity, really cool people involved, new blood involved as well. I would really love to see new blood working on these shows. Then absolutely. But I think if there's going to be like the same producers producing like 10 shows and stuff like that, I'm not really so interested.
yeah,
Um, I think, they should have filmmakers' voices. I think they should take an opportunity to make these Doctor Who thingies kind of more autopiece like, like I
yeah.
think that would be quite cool. So I guess I'm more in support of it than not, I guess. But I do recognize that there is a risk of oversaturation. So it's one of those things where I don't want to get bored of Doctor Who, but at the same time, I think with this many years of this show being a thing,
Yeah.
if I was going to get bored of it, I'd be bored of it by now.
Yeah, exactly. And we did also mention this earlier about, Doctor Who's kind of at its best when it tries new things.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I feel like with how you would like to see a cinematic universe, I guess they could I guess similar to how Marvel did originally do it, where they slowly build towards it instead of rushing it like other companies have. I feel like
The
that would
tricky thing
probably
is, though, you ideally want to introduce these things in Doctor Who. So
yeah,
theoretically, you still have that central nexus point.
yeah,
Whereas Marvel, it's like, I guess if a Doctor Who cinematic universe were a thing, it'd be like a tree. You've got the
yeah,
central thing, and then you've got branches that come out of it. Whereas the Marvel cinematic universe, you have Iron Man, you
yeah,
have Hulk, you have Captain America, you have Thor, and it's a straight line effectively. And then it reaches the Avengers. It's a straight chronology. With Doctor Who, I feel like it's more of a big ball of ideas. I'm not going to
yeah,
say the thing. I refuse. So there is also the risk of kind of rushing it there. But I just think a cool thing to see would be like, imagine like, you pick just one Doctor Who story, and then
yeah,
you decide we're going to turn that into like an anthology kind of thing, akin to like American Horror Story or something, where we're going to do like 8 episodes set in the time space of this episode here, and we're just going to expand upon that with a new cast. Like that would be awesome, I think. And it would
yeah.
kind of bring Doctor Who back to its more serialized roots as well. Like that could be really cool. So like a side project that's just, in the worlds of Doctor Who.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And obviously, Doctor Who is known for exploring, different types of genres. But
Mhm.
Doctor Who, at its core, it's still a family show. Whereas, like a spin-off, as we saw with Torchwood, it is capable. That world is capable of telling some really gritty stories, and it would be nice to get something like, an R-rated spin-off or something, maybe.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be really cool. But I feel like, yeah, with the argument, yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And I do agree that a cinematic universe would be pretty cool as long as it's done right and we don't get too oversaturated with, the amount of content. Because, yeah,
Yeah,
whilst in
I don't
recent
want to be
years,
like, this is, I feel like almost like that original content that comes from it as well.
yeah,
The main cast of those shows should be original characters.
yeah, exactly. Because it's all good, depending on legacy characters. But at the same time, I feel like we need like the next we need like the next Torchwood instead of relying on that team. It would be nice if we I don't know get insert organization name here. That they become the next face of the Doctor Who spin-offs. If that makes
Oh,
sense.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, which I think would be be pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I feel like yeah, that's a solid argument for the question that I asked you. But obviously, I'm not the deciding factor of if you've won. So, audience, let us know. Did Channel Pup deliver a spicy answer there to the question?
Fingers
So,
crossed.
yeah, and you never know. That £50 Amazon voucher could be yours, and you could be able to get all the Spidey merch possible.
Oh hell yeah! I remember for my birthday recently, I got like a £50 Amazon voucher from my mum, and I just got a whole load of Batman '66 action figures.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
got a
pretty
little
cool.
collection together. So that was kind of awesome. So I don't know, maybe I'll get a new figure collection or something. I don't know. Maybe it'll be camera gear. I'm actually working on a little something, but I can't say anything about it right now. But it involves cameras this time.
Involves cameras. Oh,
Yeah.
very, very spicy. But I just want to say thank you so much, Channel Put, for coming on. It's been a delight having you. We've spoken about a lot, but I've really enjoyed it, and hearing stuff from the creation of the Abzorbaloff, and talking about Doctor Who and just all the nerdy stuff. It has been a pleasure having you. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, for sure. My pleasure. Hey, we got to chat outside of this show, sometimes,
Yeah,
Like I'm
definitely.
game.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it be a convention or wherever, I'm definitely down for it.
Dude, yeah, if you're at any conventions, let me know. We can figure something out.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get that sorted. But for those who are watching, whether that be on YouTube or Spotify, thank you so much for tuning into the episode. And let us know, did you enjoy it? And also, did Channel Pup win your attention with his answer? And yeah,
Come on, let's go. Let's get that money.
get the money. And I will see you all next time. Thank you very much for all the support, and goodbye for now.
Take it easy.